The defending champion Melody Savage will go against Susan Vanderaa. It is Regina against Stonewall, Manitoba. And it will be Susan to throw first. She bowled the 203 compared to Melody's 174, so the higher game will throw first.
Setting up, giving herself a little bit of a bounce there just to get the timing. We're all done out there.
A little tough leaving the 8 at the back.
Eight pin at far end. Actually, that is one of the pins you'll see a lot of times. The right-hander will leave a 4 pin or the 8 pin. Left-handers leave the other side of the bowling lane. Susan has had strikes on this particular lane a couple of times. There's a couple of spares and 2 opens as well, but that time is not an open.
Susan Vanderaa leading off with the spare here in the first. Now it's the defending champion Melody Savage.
You were discussing with the young ladies that this may be a revenge matchup.
Yeah, because they've only met once before on TSN. Turns out it was a year ago when they played in a preliminary on the 3rd week as Melody gets the strike to start things off. And at that time, Melody won to advance and then went on, of course, from there to win her second Canadian championship. But they have played each other many, many, many times, as you might expect. Regina and just outside of Winnipeg in Canadian tournaments and Canadian team trials.
Melody has 2 children, 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, and among other things, her credential has won $20,000 as a defending champion. She won $10,000 twice. There's the 4-7 that she didn't really want to see left up. Notice that when she's picking up her bowling ball, she's concentrating all the time on one thing, what she is looking at the other end of the lanes. And that almost became a little bit of a problem for her, but she managed to pick it up.
So a couple of marks to start things off for Melody Savage here in this quarterfinal. The loser will win $1,000. The winner becomes our first semifinalist.
Susan bowls Glencairn Bowling Drome. It's been around for quite some time in Regina there, and they've bowled at it all that time. And the example of her practice paying off is right there as she's got the strike that she needed.
Melody Savage, Susan Vanderaa, one of these two will become our first women's 10-pin semifinalist. And they're dead even through the first 2. Strike, spare, spare, strike, as Susan from Regina bowls here in 3. Strike up in the second.
Pushes the ball down, brings it back, and here we go. Baby split. This bowler has so much talent. When she won the right to go overseas in the World Cup, she bowled in Cairo, Egypt. Set a tremendous thing. That's what she calls the highlight of her career. She bowled a 779 series, and that is remarkable.
I'll have to tell you a little story. The venue that I was at, the bowling venue, or the boxing venue in Beijing, just down the street was a large 10-pin bowling center and a big pin right out front to let everybody know. So the 10-pin game, of course, is the world game. And here's a lady that's represented Canada many times, Melody Savage.
It is remarkable, and one of the reasons that the game is so well accepted, 5-pin and 10-pin, is that anybody of any size can compete against anybody else in the game, because It's just a natural ability that'll pay off for everybody. That's what happened there, was a natural ability. Watch this ball. It just goes down there nice and smooth and easy. I remember when I was in the Philippines and Iran and over in Bogota, Colombia, you really watch the bowlers, as you're saying about the Chinese or the Filipinos and the Guams, the Guamanians. They are so small in size, they can't do well with basketball. But in this particular game, their rhythm and timing is phenomenal. Just like this one you're going to see here. There's the timing. That looked like a pretty good shot. She was a little surprised on that. The 10-pin remains. You know, in some sports, you cannot put, like when you have a 6'8" person going up to play basketball versus somebody that's 5 foot. It's not much of a match.
No, indeed. In fact, you're right. I mean, you can overcome certain things in this game. That's a big mistake for Melody. That's untimely. That's an unforced error as she gives that pin a last look. The open comes in the fourth for a 68.
Well, she eased up on the bowling ball, and it did cost her, because now Susan's got a tremendous opportunity here. She has a spare, 40 in the, hasn't had an open. She has 40 in the second frame.
So with a spare up, crossed over, and the late hit, and she'll leave that 6.
That pin came out from behind and hit the corner pin from behind. Watch the ball as it ball goes down there, and she comes in a little bit further in than she really wanted to. But watch the pin from behind, and that 10 pin tripped over. So there it is, the ball right there comes hit. But
I think it was actually the 3 pin driven back and
all the way.
Yeah, somehow spun around, and nicely done to get the spare. So Susan Vanderaa from Regina has a mark in all 4 frames now, and she, as they're tied through 3, but it's critical to note the open for Melody and Susan with the spare up in the 4th.
Watch as she releases the ball. After she releases the ball, she stays at the line and watches the results. And that's one reason why, you don't want to get antsy. You don't want to, if you raise up, you will pull the bowling ball. And that idea of just staying there until the ball hits the pins, that stops you from doing that. Now let's see if Melody can shake off that mental error that she made missing the corner pin.
Susan Vanderaa has some pin count momentum going her way right now, so Melody has to stop the bleeding a little bit. Needs the spare here, avoid a second open.
Single pin stands up at the far end. Bowling pins are 12 inches apart, center to center. Going across the lane. Executed that one. Can we get another strike up here for Susan? Will be her thought, and all Melody wants to do is start getting the game. Get lined up here. She's moved over a little bit there. She turned her hand a little bit more there. Now watch this. She brings the ball out, back, and here's the prayer right there. There's all the power she wants.
Oh boy, how did she wrap that around the 10?
Mainly the power, just like I said, a little bit fast, and as a result didn't give the 6 pin time to hit it. Watch the 6 pin goes right around it. It's hard to believe that the bowling ball only hits the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 9. And the 6 pin has to take out that 10 pin most of the time.
So back-to-back spares for Melody Savage. We want to say our thanks as well to members of the executive of Bowl Canada. The gentleman on the left, that's the president from Langley, BC, Bob Randall. So thanks to everyone at Bowl Canada. Susan Vanderaa with a mark in every frame so far. She has a strike up in 6. Coming off that 203 win over Carrie Clargo, and again that stubborn 10.
You can tell when she's quite comfortable with the ball. When she releases it, and she has her hand, like almost in a shake hand position. The thumb goes right over top of her ear, right over top of the head. And you know that she's right into her game on this series because look at the attention. Sets herself up. There's a little dance there. There's the error that you saw Melody do. We're trading back and forth here.
Yeah, that just opens the door now for Melody Savage. It's just a bad time, and that's just over years, and you've drilled it into me, and it just is a momentum killer.
Now Melody bounced back from missing the corner pin. Let's see if Susan can do the same thing. Well, she gets another chance to see it again. I remember when she first started out, sometimes when she got a mistake, and then she let it affect her play. She's come a long, long ways when we first started the game. There is a perfect example of getting her hand right over top and following through. Just beautiful to watch.
That 6 just skated by the 10, standing up.
Going across the lane. Aimed the toes at the target down at the other end.
That's better for the spare in 7.
Well, we have an interesting scenario. If Melody gets a strike, she can have 107. We'd be tied again in the 6th frame. With 202 for Susan to make the match here, and Melody had 174. Both the ladies are on a pace to hit 200. Stir up and a strike down.
So a nice bounce back for Melody Savage after that open in 4, a couple of spares, and now the strike in 7.
Good balance with the knee there, and that ball just went right through and swept the fence. So that's what we're talking about, 107 each.
Slight advantage to Melody Savage. She has the strike now up in 7 to the spare for Susan Vanderaa.
The advantage will be even more so if she gets a strike right now. Boy, did she hit that. She got to the light, right at the line there. There was no doubt in her mind she was going head hunting. Watch the power as she releases the ball. Watch it come through there, and she just whips that ball right through. Beautiful. Wow. Susan needs a mark. Going to be hitting close.
That's nice.
Nice to see them respond that way. Now she again has to get another strike up here and keep this match real close. Both women sitting at a well over 200 pace. Better yet, they're making a match out of it.
Susan's the league average 198. Melody a 202 at the Club Le Verandre in Winnipeg.
This is the ball that Susan needs to see scatter all of the pins at the end. So see if she can just release it.
2 in a row, no. She'll leave that 4-7.
I'm sure you, because of all of the sports you watch, I'm sure you've seen the pressure affect people at different times. And in bowling, they'll maybe, and I'm not talking about Susan, I'm talking in generalities, but in bowling, you'll see people will squeeze the ball a little bit tighter and just enough that it doesn't give it the splash down the other end.
So the spare for Susan Vanderaa, 147 through 8 with a spare up in 9. And a game now that really belongs to Melody Savage. She has some pin count going here. She has 2 strikes up in 7 and 8. Well, there was a great article written, I wish I would remember the author, and it had to do with curling. And it relates, I think, very well to bowling. Curling is a game that starts in the head and ultimately is transferred to the fingers and the release. And that's 3 in a row. And here I would think much the same thing. Whatever your mind says, ultimately comes through in your fingers or how you release the ball or the curling stone.
Well, and that's a perfect example of what every sport is. If the visionaries will win, the people that can visualize what they want. They want to see the pins go down. They want to see the tennis ball get hit, the golf ball, the arc of the ball going the right way. This lady knows exactly what she needed. She got a strike 3 in a row and gets a stranglehold on the whole action. That 10-pin just didn't even wiggle. So Melody has the match in hand here with a 206 potential, and the most that Susan can do now is 197.
Right. So Melody will move on, our defending champion. And it's a great run when you look at that card of hers.
Susan actually performed well. Melody, of course, is going to advance, but it's a good matchup. 206 is the score. Potential, she needs to mark here. 186 and a spare up.
And it's bouncing back, you know, that's the maturity, the experience, that open frame in 4. And then a spare, and then the 3 strikes. It's a 2:03 final for Melody Savage. The best that Susan Vanderaa can do is 197.
Well, Susan has bowled well in this series. I mean, she's not advancing, but I tell you what, she is showing some pretty good poise. Watch the results down here. Going a little bit high up on the head pin and drives it right straight through where she wanted. Good way to finish.
And a little disappointment too, because as we say, they hooked up last year in the preliminaries, and it was Melody beating Susan then, and Melody is going to do it again here, but it'll be a little bigger payday for Susan. She'll take home $1,000 compared to the $250 that goes to the preliminary loser.
Well, she had a comment that she didn't want to see the cameras make her nervous, and I think it is obvious that they didn't bother her that much.
No, I don't think so. Not anymore. I think the focus of these two is so good that they don't notice anything else around them.
Going for the corner pin.
Certainly don't take notice of you.
That's for sure.
That's 187 for Susan Vanderaa. Two good friends meeting here in this quarterfinal, but it's Melody Savage, the defending champion. She becomes our first women's 10-pin semifinalist.